Hi, it's Anna, and I am happy to welcome you to another video because it has been a while now. Because I was moving to another city and living together with my boyfriend for the first time. So these were very busy times, and I felt like it was wiser to not add that extra thing that would put pressure on me because stress is not good for you, as we all know. So here I am a bit later with the next video than usual. So this is also a new place to film. There's a lot of echo and different background, of course. And also one thing about that is that it would be possible that my cat decides to walk in and like knock over something. So just so you know, or I might edit that out. I don't know. We'll see. So I definitely noticed that my most popular videos are about INFJs, and MBTI is also a topic that I really love to talk about. So I decided for this video to also go that way and make another INFJ video. And in this INFJ video, what it's like to be an INFJ, some concrete examples. I'm talking about a lot of different things and just mentioning them in a broader sense, giving one example or something. And I definitely saw some potential to go deeper into some of those things. So that's how the idea for this video came to be. This is probably going to be one of many. My YouTube channel is not exclusively MBTI related, but MBTI is such an important thing to me, and it has influenced so much my philosophy that, yeah, it kind of is an MBTI channel. I'm not necessarily interested in making very technical MBTI videos because I think there are other people that are better at explaining that. But I think I have something to contribute from the perspective of being an INFJ. So again today, what we are going to talk about is what it's like to be an INFJ, the high moral standards of the INFJ. And zoom into that topic. So we are talking about FI critic, which is a technical MBTI term, and you might know that that's cool, but if you don't know what FI critic means, it's also fine, because like I said, I don't want to focus on the technical aspects, but for those of you that do know something about it, this video will be mostly about FI critic and what it looks like in an INFJ. Also, you can hear the church bells throughout this video, I'm afraid, because they just won't shut up and I don't have time to wait for them to stop. So pardon me for that. Obviously, can't do anything about it, but yeah. Okay, so the FI critic function is in the shadow of a person. And the shadow is in of itself a part of your mind that is more negatively skewed. So everything that's going on there is kind of negative. And the thing is, with those negative things, that you should integrate them, as they call it, and like turn it around and use it as a power. That's what integration basically means, at least according to my understanding of it. So yeah, I will be talking about the power of these high morals of the INFJ, but also about how it has a negative effect on us. And I will be talking about it from my personal experience mostly as an INFJ, which I am, obviously. Okay. In its powerful form, it's a very strong feeling of what is right or wrong. That's something that INFJs have. And once they have this feeling, what is right and wrong, we are really willing to go through anything to, how do you say that? To carry that out. In the other video, I explained that the archetype that belongs to the INFJ, the paladin, it stands for a warrior with a cause, a warrior that is fighting for something that he or she believes in. And like what he or she believes in, that's what this video is really about. So we have this very strong intrinsic feeling of something that is important to us, some value that we want to fight for in this life that we have. And it kind of feels like a purpose sometimes. I think it comes out mostly also in negative situations with injustice, and potentially we are willing to sacrifice our lives for like repairing that injustice. And you can find quite some examples of people who were INFJs who did that throughout history. I guess Jesus Christ did that in a way. I'm not a Christian, so I'm not an expert on how that works exactly, but he definitely sacrificed himself. That's a very well-known thing. But also Gandhi is a very good example of someone who sacrificed, like an INFJ that sacrificed themselves for something that he believed in. And I'm sure there are many, many more examples, but I just can't think of them off the top of my head. So rather I would like to give an example of how these very high morals manifest for me in this way. Like if there's one topic that I feel really, really strongly about, it's children, parenting children and raising children and education of children. And I feel like that has to do with my personal history as a child, being in the school system, meeting all of these adults that had such a bad effect on me, and knowing how bad it can be for children, and knowing how badly it damaged me. I am super passionate about fighting for the cause of not letting that happen to other children. So working with children, that's like the area I am going in at the moment. I have an internship at a school. And I'm definitely coming across some situations where I feel not okay with what other people are doing with the children. And objectively, these things that I observe, they're not perfect, they're not that good, but for me it's really, really bad to see those things. I have a much for me it's a much more serious thing to see these negative things happening to children. Like for another person, it may be like, oh, maybe it's not so good, but they'll probably get over it. But for me, it's like, no, like you are, you are shaping this human being, and everything you are doing now with this child will have a huge impact on the rest of the life of this child. So I have very particular ideas about what is important in raising children, and I have a really hard time seeing that happen differently. Like one thing that I find really important is valuing the individual child, because in school systems it's all about doing everything together and making it all work in a group, sharing everything, and like everybody doing the same thing in the same way. And I just don't see the value in that. I don't see how that is going to make you a happier, more fulfilled human. You know, the only purpose of that is to make you function well in a classroom setting, or maybe an office setting that you will be working in when you are an adult. But you know, people are so beautifully different, and they have different talents and different ways of doing things, and creativity, the ability to create all of these different things. But in the school systems, that's like completely denied. And even more with daycare and stuff, where children are constantly in these group settings where the individual is just not so important. People can really lose touch with the core of who they are. So to me, it's very important to look at the child and give them the space to be themselves, discover what interests they have, feel whatever they feel, all of those kind of things. And maybe when I'm saying these things, you're like, yeah, of course, that makes a lot of sense. And so most schools and daycares, they will have in their vision that they write down officially, they will definitely have written down something about that, but in a practical sense, that is not carried out that much at all. So that's an example of something that I am fighting for in this life as an INFJ, something that I really value highly. And I guess there might exist some person in this world that might say like, you're really taking that too far. It's not that important. But objectively, I would really have to disagree with that, because someone like me who like sees the importance of such a thing, of valuing the child individually in education and raising children, they are able to change systems like that. And without people like me, things would never change, you know? I think we INFJs are really willing to like fight for those causes, for those things that we have such a strong feeling with, and even sacrifice ourselves, like any negative consequences we can just completely forget in the eye of this injustice of something that is happening. That's an example. I'm sure there are many other good examples, but this is what I could think of for now. It really makes me angry if somebody is is doing something that is not in accordance with this value of mine. It feels like a passion where I would be willing to do anything to like stop what is happening or change what is happening. And I think that really connects to the purpose of the INFJ. So that was a bit of the powerful side of the high moral standards of the INFJ. And now I also want to talk about the more negative side of that, because the negative side is definitely there, and it's really, really, it can really bother an INFJ. It has definitely bothered me. The main issue is that, like, we have very high moral standards. That's obvious because it's in the title. And the problem is we also put these very high standards on ourselves. And the consequence of that is that we never feel good enough. We're super perfectionistic when it comes to ourselves. And we almost never feel like we deserve anything good. So for example, in relationships, I constantly, well, not constantly, that's a bit hyperbolic, but I very often think like, how is it possible that I get to have this amazing relationship? Like, I'm not that great. There's definitely some part of me that believes that. Also another part that's like, nah, I'm probably pretty alright. But especially on a feeling level, I feel like, not so good about myself. So, in other words, like I said in that other video, we have very low self-worth naturally, and we need other people to tell us that we are worthy to feel any kind of worth in ourselves, basically. So that sucks. So we don't feel like we are good enough. We don't feel like what we are doing is good enough. And because of that, INFJs basically always have imposter syndrome. So we feel like we don't deserve what we have. We feel like we don't really, we're never really good at something. Like we never really mastered something. It could be that we like practiced for years on an instrument and we constantly get compliments about how good we are at playing, but we still feel like, I'm not that good. There are so many people that are better than me. And also the problem there is that we compare ourselves too much to other people, when actually we should be comparing ourselves to who we were yesterday. But that's a whole other topic for another video, probably. Because we don't feel like we are good enough. In my experience, it also tends to make us put others on a pedestal. These things are very complex, so I don't know. But I think in social situations, we are always tuning in to what other people are doing because we need their acceptance, and to get their acceptance, we need to be in alignment with their values. This whole thing is more extroverted feeling related, by the way, so that's maybe a bit too far off topic. But like, while FI critic can be this very powerful force to to fight for your values. If it is underdeveloped, like if your shadow is not integrated, it's mostly going to be that because you feel like you are not worthy, you will cling on to other people's values and like forsake your own feeling of what is right and wrong and betray yourself in a way. That's definitely something that I felt like I did, like, because I know that like the things that are truly important to me, I'm quite aware of them when I think about them, but in practice I tend to forget about them and like go along with the crowd a bit, if you know what I mean, just because I crave so much to be accepted by the people around me, and I'm so afraid to be rejected if I am not in alignment with other people's values. So another destructive thing from the high moral standards of the INFJ is that we put these very high moral standards also on other people, especially people that are close to us. And we may even be a bit hypocritical about that, because we have this image in our head of like what the ideal world is like, what is important to us, and we want to see those qualities reflected in the people around us. So we advise them about what we think is a good idea, and when we bring that advice across, we are very like passionate and like we really put our heart into it, and we put these very high moral standards. But it may be that actually we ourselves are not executing those values as much as we seem to bring across in that advice. And not everybody handles these very high moral standards so well. INFPs and ENFPs, they will basically love it. They are made for the INFJs in that way. Like they naturally are fine with having those high moral standards put upon them, and they, like if they are friends with the INFJ, they will try to live up to that happily. But for a lot of other people, these high moral standards that are put on them are alienating. So that may be something to look out for. So finally, I want to talk a little bit about what would be the solution to prevent this more negative side of being destructive in your life as an INFJ. And I think part of it is that you have to verify your natural feeling of what is morally good and wrong. You can use logic to see if it actually makes sense what you are saying, and also see what actually are the consequences of your high moral standard in a practical sense. So I think especially younger INFJs, less developed INFJs, they can have this unrealistic idea of what the world should be like. And it may not always be accurate that it actually would work that way. So, spend time thinking it through, what it actually means, and if it's something that people can execute. And also look at what it might be like for the other person to get that very high moral advice, and think about if you are giving them enough space to figure out for themselves what they think is right, because your moral standard is not the only moral standard that is out there. So Yeah, like the logic thing, that's maybe a bit fake, but I think in general, if you expand your understanding of life, of how people work, or like specifically the thing that you are thinking about in your moral value, like the subject, just like spend a lot of time researching about it, thinking about it, and creating a system of logic about it, how it works, so you can integrate that with your natural feeling. Because morals are a very intrinsic, natural feeling. They don't need a lot of outward output. It's kind of like a child that knows nothing about the world. They will probably have a moral feeling. But logic is a much more refined thing, maybe, because you use all of this input to create an understanding of what is going on. And if you combine that with those more natural morals, you are much more likely to take wise decisions, I think. And then finally, for like the high moral standards for yourself, it's kind of inevitable that you are going to feel a bit bad because of that. That's just our faith as INFJs. So I would advise you to not let yourself be stopped too much by that feeling. To like understand that negative feeling about yourself is not really that realistic. So if you feel like you can't do something, if you feel like you are not good enough, just do it anyway. Like just ask out that person that you like, or go perform on that stage, or go make your own YouTube videos. It doesn't matter if you're not good at something. It doesn't matter if you are an expert or if you are better than other people or worse. Just do it. Just do what you want, and you're going to be fine, and you're going to get better, and you will receive this positive feedback, which will definitely help you a lot to feel better about yourself, even if not completely amazing, because that's just maybe not realistic for us. So yeah, that was I think the abrupt end for this video. This is what I wanted to tell you. I think this video has been long enough. I would love to read in the comments what you think about this video, your experiences with having a high moral standard as an INFJ or as another type, or with other INFJs that you might know, or anything really you want to share in the comments. Comments are really my favorite because they are so personal, and yeah, it just makes my heart warm to read those. Also, give this video a like if you liked it, and consider subscribing. I do my best to post a video every 2 weeks, and that way you will be updated when I post. So, thank you for watching, and have a nice day. Bye!